outside of that. And I have to admire him for that, for what he did.
Well, absolutely. There's no question about it. And man,
It'd be like me going to Germany. Excuse me for interrupting.
No,
It'd be like us going to Germany and becoming a film star in Germany. It's inconceivable.
And the governor over there,
And
whatever they call it.
Well, remember we did. I don't know if you remember this. We did a parody with Clint Eastwood, like 25, maybe 25, as long as my wife and I have been married, almost 28 years, about Arnold becoming governor. And it was all a spoof.
Yeah.
But the joke was on us.
Oh yeah. I mean, who would have known?
So I think Jack Armstrong said it best. Some guys saw the whole picture. Arnold saw the end.
Yeah. That's a very good quote.
He always saw the end result.
Mm-hmm.
And his famous line was, Americans always say if, I say when.
That's a good way to think about life, too, because he saw the end, but he knew how to get there.
Well, what I learned about Arnold was the focus.
Yeah.
I had good focus because I'd done a lot of different endeavors in athletics, but he had a focus and a drive that kind of was contagious.
Right.
You wanted to be around him, not because he was Arnold, but because you knew he was going somewhere. And I'll never forget when I came to California, I had those plaid shirts, and I was from Michigan, and I had the shoulders. And Arnold had just screwed up his knee in Belgium. He was doing this
That's right.
This pose. My friend Tommy Martinez is hiding over here.
I think he fell asleep.
He fell asleep.
Looks like Kenny Rogers.
He does look like Kenny. He's a good-looking guy. Anyway, he did this kneeling pose, and the stage fell apart. He screwed his knee.
I remember that.
And a lot of people thought that was it. He's done.
Mm-hmm.
So I had hurt my back. I just came from I'd been in California, went back to Michigan State, hurt my back. I was training with Freddie Lowe, who was a great Olympic lifter, and I hurt my back. So I was kind of banged up, and I was working out, and I looked over at Arnold, and he had this cast, like up to his hip, and he's bent over, and he's doing concentration. He's still training.
Mm-hmm.
He's hurt. And I looked at him, and I'll never forget this, and I said, "You're coming back, aren't you?" He just looked at me and smiled. And he goes, "You hurt your back, huh?" He goes, "Let's train together." So we started doing, I don't know if you remember this, we started doing squats on the Smith machine. Remember that Smith machine?
Yeah.
Well, we did that because it hurt my back. I couldn't lean forward, and he did it because of his knee.
Right.
Because he couldn't move. So Ken Waller was the manager of the gym, as you remember, and we would load that machine up. And Ken would get all pissed off. So we'd have to hide. We'd put a 45 on, and then we'd put a 25 in behind it and put another 40.
To hide him. Right.
So he couldn't see it from the office.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he thought because the angle we were bending the rods on the thing, and we were.
Yeah.
So he would come out, and his voice would go, "God damn it, I told you guys not to put those goddamn weights." And Arnold and I would say, "Oh, come on, Kenny, relax, we're hurt." And we'd always be, "Is he looking?" And we'd slide that, he'd be watching us like from the office. We'd slide that 25 on and then put the 45 over it, and he couldn't see it.
Of course.
Those were some great days.
What was your training program back then? I mean, everybody says, "How'd you guys train in the 70s? What were the secrets?" There was really no secrets to it.
Well, I think the secret that we came up with is Arnold and I used to go run at night, and we wouldn't tell anybody. So the guys would wonder how we were getting all cut up.
Or down at the beach.
Well, what we'd do is, remember when he lived on
15th?
19th.
Or 19th in Santa Monica?
19th in California.
California, right.
If you go down California, that's an incline all the way from the beach. So we would take my little pickup, and he would follow me in his car. We'd drive down there and drop off my truck, and we'd come back in his car and go to his house, and we'd run down to the beach.
Oh, I see, yeah. And get the car.
And get the car and come back. And next day we'd come in the gym, and we'd just be ripped to shreds, and guys would go, "What the hell?" Because most of those guys didn't run.
Well, because no one ran. There was no
They
treadmills.
thought their arms would shrink.
I know that. And there were no ellipticals, nothing in the gym back then for cardio.
No.
And if you did do a lot of running, if you did a lot of running, you would lose
Get
muscle.
stringy.
You get stringy.
But the reality is, you know, if you got small arms, they're going to be small whether you got, you know, once you take all the fat off,
Yeah.
it's like shoveling sand on a rock, you know. That's fat.
Yeah.
If you take it off, you still got the same rock.
Right.
So you're better off getting lean, building muscle slowly rather. See, the whole mindset then was to bulk up,
Right.
get big,
And then train down.
and then trim down.
Yeah.
So I think what changed modern bodybuilding is that we realized you don't do that. You get lean first and then add muscle slow. And actually, instead of cutting down to a contest,
You build up to it.
you build up to it. Get lean 3 months before the contest and then add muscle the last 12 weeks, which kind of changed the whole
Yeah,
thing.
because so many people outside of that write to me and they say, "You guys, but you bulk up and put all the weight on first, and then cut back. Why do you want to do that twice? Because it's a double job."
I always said it's like shoveling sand on a rock.
Exactly.
You take the sand off, the rock's still there.
Well, you build quality muscle slow,
Exactly.
and you didn't overtrain it back then.
No.
Basic exercise, right?
Well, we were close to overtraining because, you know, we would do those double sessions.
Right.
I learned later on in my career the training part was really kind of ruining it.
I like training alone.
It's much better. Training with a guy is like a bad marriage. One guy benefits, the other guy benefits, but not as much as the other guy.
Yeah.
Who's running the show.
Yeah.
It's not a total symbiotic relationship.
No, you can count on yourself to be. I used to train with Bill Grant, and Bill Grant would show up sometimes.
Yeah.
Many times not, and I'd be sitting there waiting for 20 minutes, and I could have been done in half the time.
And that's the other thing is you mentally start relying on that person. So it's almost like when they don't show up, there's a letdown.
Right.
And now maybe you've been training for a show for 6-7 weeks, and all of a sudden your training partner takes a powder, and mentally you're screwed up. I always called my training partners burnt offerings because they'd fall by the wayside.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they would just, you know, you'd burn them out.
That's true. How was your diet back then?
I didn't really diet so much as I had a nutritional balance. A lot of guys say you got to diet. You can't diet. You have to establish a lifestyle and stick with it.
Exactly.
Because if you do, you're not.
Diet is something that people hate to do,
Yeah.
and if you hate it, you're not going to do it.
No, it'll last for a while. You look at a lot of women, a lot of guys. They diet. They look great. 6 months later, they look the same as they did before.
Yeah, I see that a lot in gyms today. Do you eat the same way now that you did then?
I don't eat as much red meat. I eat a lot more fish and chicken and more vegetable. I try to eat healthy. We do a lot of juicing, a lot of natural juices.
No, that's good.
You know, I'm boring when it comes to that stuff.
I'm boring when it comes to eating. My wife always wants to split desserts, and I say, okay, I'll have a bite.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because I'll eat right and I'll eat clean and I'll have a bite of dessert, and then I feel bloated. I feel really uncomfortable.
The weird thing is I don't like sweets anymore.
No,
I don't like
it.
anything sweet.
I'd rather have breads, like breads.
You know, I have weird eclectic taste.
So you're still training 4 to 5 days a week.
Yeah, I have a little gym at home, and I train at Bally's gym.
As long as they got something there.
It's cheap.
Hey, that's all right.
You know.
Now, back then, we did some TV and we did some movies together.
Yeah.
It was a different lifestyle back then. I mean, we trained, we went to the beach. People say, how'd you have that kind of lifestyle? I don't know. We just made it work. It just worked.
Well, we were a subculture that was kind of evolving and becoming popular, and it took off. And I think what really capitulated it was the women. Once women got into bodybuilding, now you had aunts and wives and grandmothers and uncles and people who never would have any interest in bodybuilding suddenly focusing on it.
Yeah.
And it became popular. I always like to tell people I've lived so long that when I was young, smoking pot and was cool and working out was weird.